$55,000 a month. One food truck. High-margin street tacos. That is the ceiling. Most owners struggle to hit $5,000. The gap is $50,000 of monthly profit. Today, we are breaking down the exact path from $0 to $660,000 a year. I am showing you the startup costs, the daily menu margins, and the 6-month scaling timeline. You will see exactly where the money leaks and where the profit hides. We are stripping away the passion project fluff. This is a cold, hard business breakdown. $12,000, that is the baseline for a used permitted trailer. Compare that to $85,000 for a brand new custom-built truck. The $73,000 difference is your risk capital. If you spend $85,000 on day one, your break-even point pushes back by 14 months. If you start with a $12,000 used rig, you can reach profitability in 90 days. But there is a hidden cost. Used equipment fails. A $12,000 trailer often comes with a $2,000 electrical nightmare. You have to budget for the failure fund. Let's look at the initial capitalization. You need $5,000 for the initial permit and health department licensing. You need $3,000 for the initial inventory. You need $2,000 for a commercial generator. That is $20,000 total to get on the street. Most people think the truck is the biggest expense. It isn't. The biggest expense is the dead time between the first permit and the first sale. If that gap is 60 days, you are burning cash without a single customer. The goal is to minimize the time between the check clearing and the first taco sold. But the truck is just a box on wheels. The real money is in the menu engineering. $4.12, that is the cost to produce one gourmet street taco. You sell it for $6. That is a 31% food cost. Now compare that to a burger truck. A burger costs $3.5 to make and sells for $11. The burger has a higher margin, but the taco has a faster throughput. You can flip 60 tacos per hour. You can only flip 20 burgers per hour. The taco truck makes more money per hour, even with a lower per unit profit. This is the volume game. Let's dive into the ingredient breakdown. Your corn tortillas are $0.05 each. Your protein is $1.2 per serving. Your salsa and toppings are $0.4. Your packaging and napkin are $0.27. The remaining cost is the waste factor. In a high-volume truck, you lose 5% of your inventory to spoilage or drops. If you don't track the waste, your 31% food cost secretly becomes 38%. That 7% difference is the difference between a $2,000 profit and a $500 loss at the end of the month. You have to optimize for speed of assembly. If a customer waits 10 minutes for a taco, they won't come back. If they wait 2 minutes, they buy 3 more. That is where the $660,000 annual revenue comes from. It is not about the price of the taco. It is about the number of transactions per hour. But throughput only matters if you are parked in the right spot. A great menu in a dead parking lot is a fast way to go bankrupt. $1,200 a day, that is the revenue target for a top-tier location. Compare that to $300 a day at a random street corner. The difference is $900 in daily gross. Over a 5-day work week, that is a $4,500 gap per week. To hit $660,000 a year, you need to average $1,600 per day across 300 operating days. You cannot do this by just parking and hoping. You need a location strategy. There are 3 tiers of locations. Tier 1 is the anchor spot. This is a brewery or a business park with 500 plus employees. You pay a 10% commission or a flat daily fee of $50. Tier 2 is the event spot. These are festivals and fairs. You pay $500 to $1,000 for a weekend spot. The risk is higher, but the volume is massive. You can do $5,000 in a single weekend. Tier 3 is street roaming. This is the lowest cost, but the highest risk. You are fighting for visibility. The secret to the $660,000 run rate is the anchor event hybrid. You spend Tuesday through Thursday at a high-traffic business park. This covers your fixed costs and basic payroll. Then you spend Friday and Saturday at high-ticket events. This is where the pure profit happens. If your fixed costs are $4,000 a month and your Tuesday-Thursday revenue is $12,000, you are already profitable. Everything from the weekend events goes straight to the bottom line. But the biggest mistake owners make is ignoring the labor leak. $18 an hour. That is the average cost for a line cook. If you have 2 employees working 10 hours a day, that is $360 in daily labor. Compare that to an owner-operator model where the owner works the grill. The owner saves $360 a day, or $1,800 a week. In the first 6 months, that $1,800 is the difference between paying off the truck and taking out another loan. Most people want to be owners before they are operators. That is a recipe for failure. You need a lean crew strategy. 1 person on the window, 1 person on the grill, 1 person on prep, total of 3 people. If you have 4 people on a slow Tuesday, you are burning your margin. The goal is to move from owner-operator to owner-manager only after you hit $20,000 in monthly revenue. Until then, you are the cook, the driver, and the accountant. Let's talk about the prep gap. Most trucks waste 4 hours a day prepping ingredients on the truck. That is 4 hours of paying labor with 0 revenue. The pro move is to rent a shared commercial kitchen for $500 a month. You do all the chopping, marinating, and sauce making in a controlled environment. You load the truck with ready-to-cook kits. This increases your window speed by 40%. It turns a 4-minute wait into a 2-minute wait. That 2-minute difference is how you scale from $300 a day to $1,200 a day. But how do you actually launch this in 6 months? Month 1 is the paperwork phase, $0 revenue. You spend 30 days fighting with the city. You get your health permit, your fire marshal approval, and your business license. You buy your $12,000 used trailer. You spend this month mapping out your top 10 locations. You don't just look at where people are. You look at where people are hungry and unserved. If there are 5 taco trucks at the park, you don't go there. You find the park with a sandwich shop and no tacos. Month 2 is the beta phase. Revenue, $4,000 to $7,000. You do not open to the public immediately. You do soft launches for friends and family. You test your equipment. You find out that your fryer takes too long to heat up. You realize your salsa is too salty. You fix these things while the stakes are low. If you launch a full menu on day 1 and the equipment fails, you lose your reputation instantly. In the food truck world, a bad first impression is permanent. Month 3 is the stabilization phase. Revenue, $10,000 to $15,000. You start your Tuesday-Thursday anchor rotation. You are working 12-hour days. You are exhausted. This is where most people quit. You are making enough to cover the truck payment and the ingredients, but you aren't taking home a big paycheck. You are refining your ticket time. You are learning exactly how many pounds of carne asada you need for a Wednesday lunch rush. Month 4 is the event pivot, revenue. $20,000 to $25,000 now that your operation is stable, you start applying for weekend festivals. You use the data from your first 3 months to prove your volume to event organizers. You show them your transactions per hour. You secure one big event per weekend. Your revenue spikes because you are now hitting the $5,000 weekend. Month 5 is the optimization phase. Revenue $30,000 to $35,000. You move your prep to a commercial kitchen. You cut your on-truck labor hours. You introduce a high-margin add-on. This is the loaded fries strategy. Fries cost $0.4 to make. You sell them for $7. They take 30 seconds to plate. By adding one side dish with an 80% margin, you increase your daily profit by $150 without adding significant work. Month 6 is the scale phase. Revenue $55,000. You have a locked-in anchor spot, a consistent weekend event schedule, and a streamlined prep process. You are now netting roughly $15,000 to $20,000 a month after all expenses. To hit the $660,000 annual mark, you maintain this rhythm for 12 months. You aren't just selling tacos. You are managing a high-throughput logistics system. Let's look at the hidden leak of the food truck business. $300 a month. That is the average cost of fuel and propane. But the real leak is untracked waste. If your staff throws away 5 pounds of meat a day, that is $40 a day. That is $1,200 a month gone. You must implement a waste log. Every single ounce of food that goes in the trash must be recorded. When the staff knows the waste is being tracked, the waste drops by 50%. Then there is the maintenance trap. A food truck is a kitchen inside a vehicle. 2 things that should never meet are now in the same place: grease and electricity. If you don't spend $100 a month on preventative maintenance, you will face a $3,000 repair in the middle of your busiest Saturday. A broken generator during a festival is a $5,000 loss in one day. You don't view maintenance as a cost. You view it as revenue insurance. Now let's compare the owner-operator margin versus the fleet owner margin. An owner-operator keeps 25% to 35% of the gross revenue as take-home pay. On $55,000 a month, that is $13,750 to $19,250 in profit. But if you buy a second truck, your margin drops. You now have to pay a manager. Your margin drops to 15% to 20%. However, you are now making 20% of $110,000 a month. The fleet owner makes more total money but takes on more systemic risk. If one truck breaks, you still have the other. If the city changes the zoning laws, both trucks are dead. The most critical decision is the menu compression. Most beginners try to offer 20 different items. They think more variety equals more customers. It actually equals slower service and higher waste. Compare a 20-item menu to a 5-item menu. The 5-item menu allows you to buy ingredients in bulk. It allows your staff to memorize the build. It reduces the decision fatigue for the customer. A customer who spends 2 minutes deciding what to eat is a customer who slows down your entire line. You want decision velocity. You want the customer to know exactly what they want before they reach the window. This is why the $660,000 trucks have limited menus. They focus on one hero product and 2 supporting products. The hero is the taco. The supporting products are the fries and the drink. That is it. No salads, no desserts, no complex customizations. Let's break down the customer acquisition cost. In a brick-and-mortar restaurant, you spend thousands on marketing. In a food truck, your marketing is the smell of your grill and the size of your line. People gravitate toward crowds. This is the line effect. If you have a line of 10 people, the 11th person will join it just because it looks successful. To trigger the line effect, you need strategic slowdown. Some operators actually slow down their service slightly to keep a line visible on the street. If you clear the line too fast, the street looks empty. If you keep a steady stream of 5 to 8 people waiting, you attract more walk-by traffic. It is a psychological game. You are not just selling food, you are selling the perception of demand. But what about the seasonal dip? In most cities, food truck revenue drops 40% in the winter. If you make $55,000 in July, you might make $20,000 in January. The 660K operators handle this through revenue diversification. They don't just rely on the street. They pivot to corporate catering. A corporate lunch for 100 people is a guaranteed $1,500 check. There is no waste because you know the exact head count. There is no line effect needed because the client is already paid. By securing 4 corporate gigs a month during the winter, you flatten the revenue curve. You replace the lost street traffic with high-certainty catering contracts. Let's look at the exit strategy. A food truck is a cash flow business, but it can be sold as an asset. A truck doing $660,000 a year with a proven location list and a clean brand is worth a multiple of its annual profit. If you are netting $200,000 a year, you can often sell that business for 2 times to 3 times the annual profit. That is a $400,000 to $600,000 payday. The difference between a job and a business is whether it can run without you. If you are still the one flipping the tacos in year 3, you have a job. If you have a manager, a prep kitchen, and a scheduled calendar of events, you have an asset. The goal is to move from the grill to the spreadsheet as fast as possible. To recap the math, you start with a $20,000 investment. You focus on a $6 taco with a 31% food cost. You secure an anchor spot for baseline costs and a fence for profit spikes. You move prep to a commercial kitchen to increase throughput. You implement a waste log to save $1,200 a month. You use corporate catering to kill the winter dip. The path to $660,000 isn't about cooking the perfect taco. It is about managing the revenue gap. It is about the difference between a $300 day and a $1,200 day. It is about the difference between a 4-minute ticket and a 2-minute ticket. It is a game of margins, volume, and location. If you can handle the 12-hour days of the first 90 days, the math works. The blue-collar entrepreneur doesn't rely on luck. They rely on the breakdown of costs and the optimization of flow. You don't need a culinary degree to do this. You need a calculator and a willingness to be the first one at the truck and the last one to leave.